right, guys, we are being joined from British Columbia, Canada. We have Steve and Shelby here. They work with ICIS, which stands for Integrated Cadastral Information Society. And I'm really excited to kind of learn about what they're doing in terms of keeping data accurate, um, keeping up to date with stewardship, making it accessible for the public. I think it'll be a very interesting chat because at least at least on this side, at least in the U.S., I haven't seen too many companies like this or societies like this. I'm interested to see like kind of like what makes you guys different and what you guys are doing to, keep data accessible for everyone. But first, as usual, we're going to do some introductions. So we're going to start off with Steve Mark here, Director of Operations for ICIS. Give us a little background about yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Jazz. Yeah, my name is Steve. I've been with the society for 15 years now, but got my start. I did geography at the University of Victoria, and I did a co-op degree. But then after a few years, I worked and then went on to do just a diploma in GIS, and then kind of bounced around from consulting companies, provincial government, other provincial entities, and then ended up at ICI Society, where I started more as a GIS analyst in the beginning and then turned to the stakeholder engagement coordinator. But for the last 5 years, I've been in the director's role.
Nice. Very, very cool. And then I think last time when we had spoke previously, you also do some longboarding or skateboarding as well, or you used to?
Yeah, no, I still try to skateboard every day if I can. Yeah, lots of longboarding as well as stand-up paddleboarding, mountain biking, get some tennis in. Yeah, you can't see it, but my whole office is covered in skateboards on the
Yeah,
walls.
his whole it when right now like it's covered, but his whole office is full of like different skateboards, so it's super dope. All right, cool. Thank you, Steve. Shelby, give us a little background about you.
Thanks, Jazz. Yeah, my name's Shelby. I've been with ICI Society for just over a year now, and I'm in the communications engagement position. So I originally grew up in Vancouver, but I've been on Vancouver Island for like most of my adult life. I went to Camosun College and got a degree in business, majoring in marketing. So I don't really have like a formal geography background. My background's more like communications and marketing. But I've always been really interested in geography. So getting to find this position was really exciting. Connected with Steve. And yeah, I really like the position. I learned a lot in my role. And so that's kind of how I wound up here.
Nice. And then correct me if I'm wrong, Shelby. Were you obsessed with your dog? Was that it?
Yes, I was
Okay.
obsessed with my dog. My dog's name is Bo. He looks like a little cow. He's white with black spots, but he's big. He's a big dog. So yeah, I take him hiking all the time and exploring. And when I'm not in the office, I'm usually like out and about with him.
Nice, very cool. And just out of curiosity, what kind of dog is he?
He's a Rottweiler Staffy mix. Maybe some other
Okay.
random. He's like a mutt.
Yeah. He's huge. If I'm visualizing that, he's a pretty big dog.
I was expecting him to be 120 pounds. So when I picked him up, I had like this huge crate for him, but he's only 65 pounds. So he's like
Oh,
a
okay.
medium sized dog. But I saw his mom, like pictures of his mom. And his mom's like a 120-pound Rottweiler. So I ended up with like a medium sized dog, which is not what I was expecting, but it's nice. He's very easy to transport.
Yeah. Is he a rescue?
He was off of Kijiji during COVID.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Very, very cool. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you for your little introductions there. So what I'm interested in, and I'm pretty sure other people are interested in it is too, is a society that kind of is like a stewardship for data management. Give us a little bit of a background of what ICIS is and what your roles is in terms of, keeping data accurate and attainable for the public and constantly changing and updated.
Yeah. Steve, I can start with that one if you want.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So to sum it up really simply, we're basically like the Costco of data. So we have a little bit of everything for everyone. So we've been around almost 25 years now. So 25 years coming up in May. So we were founded back in 2001 as a nonprofit under the Societies Act. Basically, access to our data is provided through ICI Society membership. We have a really diverse range of organizations through our membership. So we have like 188 or 184 out of the 188 local governments. And we have all the provincial ministries, Land Title Survey Authority, BC Assessment, We support 146 First Nations, 14 utility companies, including major utilities like TELUS, Rogers, FortisBC, BC Hydro. And then we have 14 associate members as well. Those are mostly like private sector members, like surveying companies, port authorities. And so basically, we act as a central repository for authoritative geospatial data. So we're actually getting data from our members on a weekly refresh. So people that are working off of our data know they're working on the closest to source, most accurate data. It's like it's never changing. It's always being updated and maintained. And we also distribute like Person Map BC data to our members as well, because we're the authoritative source for like the fully attributed version of Personal Map BC. And so we have data like civic addresses, water infrastructure, zoning, official community plan data, and third-party utility data that our members can access through membership. It's like a quick overview. Steve, I don't know, we probably have something to add to.
Yeah, no, that's a great summary. But yeah, in the beginning, sort of why the society was created, because there was no province-wide cadastre. So that, the C in ICIS Society is cadastre. So that parcel layer, that foundation that so many organizations base their mapping off of, that didn't exist. So for some of our funding members, like BC Assessment, like the utilities, they didn't want to have to go around to each 188 local governments signing different data sharing license agreements. So that's why the society is created, so it all could be all under one umbrella. And in the beginning, there was there's a lot of barriers to just share your data because none of it was mandated or legislated. So it took several years to sort of reach that tipping point where there was enough data in the cadastre to make it worthwhile for other members to join. So we've come a long way in those 25 years. And I'd say in the last 10 years now, in terms of awareness and sort of the facilitation of data within BC, people are usually directed to the society. So as our membership increases, we do a lot of sort of outreach, but a lot of it is sort of that organic growth as our membership grows.
So if you're a member, you get access to all different types of data. What kind of data do you get if you become a member of ICIS?
So Shelby touched on it, but you'd get access to that parcel layer, that key foundation that build out the fabric within BC. There's address information, OCP, zoning, and then third-party utility data is infrastructure, poles, posts, underground utilities. And so those data sets are not aggregated because whatever BC Hydro gives us is what we get, right? And it spans the whole province. But then the aggregated data sets like the addressing, zoning, OCP, we aggregate that from all the disparate custodians. And we're always looking at, because we have this system, we coined it GeoShare. It's just automated delivery. So every week within different jurisdictions, be it a local government, a utility, a First Nation, BC Assessment, if there's any updates in their system, it automatically gets shipped to the society, aggregated, and then delivered out. So that's a big thing about the society, is making sure that data is current and the most commonly used data and the authoritative source of that data. So I think right now we have about 41 million records on refresh every week. And through this GeoShare platform, we have notifications of if the data is delivered, and then also a bunch of statistics on how much data is delivered, and then also notifications if for some reason the data is not delivered, right? Say someone in IT puts up a firewall, or potentially someone in Public Works changes the schema but doesn't let the GIS department know. There's a bunch of QC protocols in check to flag that to our custodians.
Okay, because that's a lot of data to have on refresh every week. So I'm just curious to see how you guys kind of keep up with that and, run that script or whatever you're running to make sure that it's able to fact check or QC or QA that information.
Yeah. And a lot of the back end for our GeoShare platform is FME or safe software. So it wouldn't be possible without that. But there's a lot of automated checks in place. But of course, we're not familiar with every corner of BC in terms of, we're not familiar with the data like our consumers and our custodians are. So we really leave that up to the ICI community to do that sort of QC on, the local knowledge of the geospatial data. So we do get, feedback from our data consumers saying, oh, it looks like this parcel is labeled wrong, or maybe this pole is mapped on the wrong side of the street, or, this boundary is wrong. So we put that back to our custodians. And because that data is being refreshed every week, usually it's updated within that week time frame. But as we get more and more data consumers and more eyes on the data improves over time.
Okay. Very cool. So what does your day-to-day look like as a director of operations for the society?
So of course I run the team. So I'm in charge of sort of all the day-to-day operations with the team, talking to the IT department, working very closely with Shelby in terms of engagement and outreach to the members, and then also talking to our GIS department. But I also act as the bridge between operations and the board. So the ICI Society board is made up of local governments, utilities, and provincial entities. So we have 5 members per each segment. So it's interesting because we're a small team. There's only 7 of us.
Yeah.
We have a 15-person board. And because we follow under the Societies Act, there's the Constitution and bylaws. We have quarterly meetings. We have the board meetings. We have AGM. So navigating all that, as well as doing the outreach and sort of keeping the lights on day to day.
Yeah, because I saw that you have 7-ish people on the team, which is incredible for all the work that you guys actually really handle. You would think that there'd be a lot more people on the team. And then with Shelby, because you're part of like the communications and engagement team. What does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, so we always have a lot of different projects on the go, which keeps things exciting because not every day is the same. So lots of like meeting with members. I onboard like any new member that joins. So kind of show them what they get access to our member resources. Also helping people with setting up their GeoShare, like how they're going to deliver data to us, whether it's through like the typical Python scripts that a lot of members are using, or if they want to like deliver through web services. So kind of assisting with that, and then also assisting if they're wanting data from us. So something we do is we send out customized PMBC, so parcel map BC data packages to our members, just so they don't have to like pull the data themselves. It's kind of just an automated package that most of them script to go into their database. So it just kind of makes the process a lot easier for them. So helping them kind of decide what they want in their package, and then working with our GIS folks, Brittany and David. So I work really closely with them as well, just creating tickets for them and things they need to do. And then working really closely with Steve as well on any communications we need to get out to our members via like newsletters, really active on LinkedIn as well. And then we work with some partner organizations too on different strategies, and always trying to collaborate with other people as well.
Okay. So how is ICIS kind of revolutionizing data accuracy? Like what makes ICIS different from other data steward companies out there?
I think what it is it's not so much the accuracy, it's the aggregation and kind of taking the custodian's word of their data. Because in the beginning, that was a big question. What if jurisdiction X or organization X is delivering data that's not accurate? And our philosophy is, if it's the most available, like widely used, and it's most authoritative source, that's what we'll bring in. And then as neighboring jurisdictions, if there are issues in overlap or other accuracies, we'll notify them of that, but we'll leave it to them. Because what we didn't want to be is out of sync of the custodian, right? And so our philosophy is, if it's good enough for city X or utility Z, it's good enough for the society, because it's the best available data, but it's also the authoritative data. So, and that has worked, and that sort of concept of accuracy has sort of taken care of itself. But again, that was a very big sort of question, or caused hesitation in the beginning of the society. And honestly, we don't get a lot of that sort of accuracy question now, because I think as everyone's sort of matured along this baseline of advancing in geospatial technologies in terms of the software and what's available, it's just getting better and better. But to be honest, it's not a huge issue anymore.
Okay. And I think one big problem with data, like in terms of like trying to find it, is actually being able to find it, like getting access to it. Usually there's some
Yeah,
type of paywall behind it to
yeah,
where or people just don't trust you to even have access to that information.
yeah.
So how is it? I mean, I'm not sure how it is in Canada, specifically BC, but since it's all North America, it's probably all just the same. But how is it to where do you guys have that struggle trying to get access to data that you need to then be able to pull in?
For the most part, again, it's that sort of learning curve. But now that the society's been in existence coming up on 25 years in May, it's building up the trust. And I always use the analogy of the iceberg, right? So above the water, you see all the data, but it's all everything down below, all the meetings, the outreach, the relationships that built up trust, the referrals from other colleagues. That's made the difference. And we often get this question, how did you do it in BC, or how did you build such a network? And seriously, it took a lot of time. Like even when we were building out the GeoShare platform, we spent months just doing site visits and building up those relationships because we had to sort of introduce ourselves, introduce the technology, but it was more getting to know the network. And I see now that's the most powerful thing about the society is that network and collaboration. And one of the things that Shelby and I are also very involved in terms of outside of internal is we're always attending industry conferences, doing presentations, holding our own user conferences. So really it's that network and that trust and that relationships. That's the power of the society, the collaboration.
Okay, nice. So now, which you have a few initiatives going on, but I think one of the biggest things I saw, well, yeah, one of the biggest things I saw was, of course, uh, the revamp for emergency communications with NG 911, going from analog to digital, and like, what is kind of your process with that? I'm not sure how it would look on your guys' end, but I've seen some other people, at least like in Arizona or in the U.S., obviously, their methods of trying to adjust and change. I'm not sure how it is for BC. Like, how are you guys revamping that?
So yeah, I'll take the first stab at this. So yeah, it's been a very long process in terms of onboarding and education. But within BC, because the society exists, we're able to bring in all these different stakeholders. So in British Columbia, under the CRTC, TELUS is the top level aggregator, which of course are a member of the society. And then GOBC, a provincial ministry, is the provincial aggregator. And again, another member of the society. And we went through a few different trials because the society exists, because we had these relationships with First Nations, with local governments, where we've done a couple of trials to see like, how would this actually work? Right? Because what we hear too is because we have this sort of network, we're sort of farther along the NG911 transition phase compared to other provinces because the society already had this data exchange in place. So right now we're tasked with aggregating the site structure address point or the civic address points for the purpose of NG911. So we're aggregating that data and then passing it on to GOBC, who will do a bunch of additional QC analysis with the other layers required for public safety, and then pass it on to TELUS. So there's a couple different sort of phases in which that data goes through. And again, we're looking at that May 2027 target or start line. But to date, we've been, educating and onboarding, holding webinars and conferences for a few years to try to bring all our members and all the relevant stakeholders up to speed. And it's ongoing.
Have you had a mostly positive reception to this change, or has there been any pushback towards this change? I think typically anything new, you
Mhm.
definitely will have the people who like to stay how things are, and may not understand why the change needs to be happening. So have you guys experienced that?
I feel like a lot of people are like excited about the change since it is like to provide better like emergency response. That's kind of like my take on people's reaction. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, no, I agree. But realizing there's a lot of work to do,
Yeah, a lot
but
of work.
but through the province and through the Union of British Columbia municipalities, there has been funding available. There's been a couple of different funding intakes to help organizations transition to NG911. And then one thing that society has done with GOBC and ECOM and some of the other stakeholders is really align together in a communications plan, and sort of so all our members are hearing the same messaging. We created NG911 GeoHub, sort of that central repository for information. So that's been really helpful. But that's all come out of working together, over the years to try to really educate and onboard the stakeholders.
Yeah, because before, correct me if I'm wrong, the original, the analog data part of it, it was very hard to actually get like precise accuracy. Like it was within a certain radius, but it was a pretty large radius. And so a lot of people who say, like, for instance, I called the cops, they should know where I'm at. But in reality, they only have like a buffer area of where you're at. They don't actually know exactly where you are. So I believe like that change is the thing that's going to actually make it a little more precise, a little bit closer, like on a smaller metric scale, to then be able to find where they need to, whether that's police calls, fire stations, any type of EMS personnel. They actually be able to have like a closer radius to where they actually need to find their pinpoint.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, the current 911 was built for landlines, and now everyone's on the cell phone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
With the new updates, you'll be able to like text as well and send images and videos too, which is a cool feature.
Yeah, that would be really awesome. So yeah, I'd hope that no one's against that, but I think that would help a lot of people.
Mhm.
So in the next like 5 to 10 years, what are the projects that you guys are looking to implement other than NG911?
Yeah, so basically, right now we're also working on like a capital projects planning tool. Basically, they support capital projects planning to improve like collaboration and long term planning across all of our members. So that's something we're going to be introducing uh, on Monday. We're going to start reaching out to collect this data from our members. So that'll be a new layer. But other than that, we basically want most of our work to be guided by our membership. Uh, we kind of look to them to tell us what they want us to focus on, any new data layers they want to see, or workshops, or ways we can provide more value. So basically, we just kind of listen to what our members say, and we kind of react and respond accordingly.
And then in addition, there is conversation at the executive board in terms of, we have a strat plan, but where do we want to go next? What do we see in the future? Are there different sectors or industries we're missing? Are there existing members in or are there additional members that could be added to our existing member segments? So yeah, we're really just trying to leverage sort of the history of the society and where we go next. But yeah, there's lots of opportunity.
Okay. And so over the last 25 years, is there anything that you want to enhance that you already are working on? Maybe we could talk about membership. Maybe no, other than NG911, because we already talked about that. But in terms of membership, is there anything that you want to enhance? Is there anything that you want to yourselves and the whole team wants to kind of revamp and keep ICIS attainable and accessible for everyone that might be interested in becoming a member or learning more about the society?
I think one of the things that we need to work on is awareness, even within organizations who may already be members, right? Of course, we're very close to the geospatial folks, but can we go deeper into asset management, planning,
Mhm.
parks, facilities? Because we do from time to time get inquiries saying, this society looks amazing. How do we get access to the data? How do we apply? And we're like, oh, you're actually already members, through the whole strata of an organization. And then all the provincial ministries, which there are numerous ministries, but trying to get that sort of word out. In some ways, we could be the best kept secret to different departments in existing organizations as members.
I think I kind of like my basic questions out of the way. Like, what about for you guys? Like, what are some things that you yourselves want to achieve, whether that's within the society or maybe personal, but what are some projects or personal goals that you have that you want to see come to fruition?
Shelby, do you want to jump in
Yeah,
and I'll add?
I can, I can jump in. Yeah, for me personally, I think the awareness is a huge piece, like especially with how much outreach I'm doing. I think like First Nations is a really important part of our work, and we definitely want to make sure we're helping like, build capacity there and building that awareness and that trust in those relationships. So that's like a big part of my outreach is like how do we reach them? How do we let them know that this is available? So that's something I'm definitely going to be working on for the next long while. Because we have 146 First Nation members, which is like a good number, but there is still a lot more that we could have join and build relationships with. And then another thing I've been focusing on is improvement districts. So we have 11 improvement districts as members right now, and they basically like take care of a lot of like water infrastructure, things like that, or maybe fire protection. And so they have data that we would love to see in our warehouse, and we do have data that would be valuable for them too. And so, yeah, First Nations and improvement districts both do not pay as members. So it's sort of like a win-win for us getting more data in the door and also a win for them getting access to more data at no cost. So
Nice.
yeah, just growing our membership base is a big one for me and networking, getting out there. Even like if someone's not a member, we do work with partner organizations as well. So kind of growing that as well too, just to kind of expand our reach even further.
Nice.
Yeah. And for myself, I'm always concerned or like thinking about sort of the legacy of the society, right? What is the next 25 years, right? Like we've built up so much, there's been so much effort, but where do we take it? Like in terms of, diversifying revenue. I'm always thinking about sort of down the road what that looks like. And then also accountability to the team of looking at sort of what are their goals? What's their, professional development plan, right? Are they engaged? what what tools do they need in terms of training, education to, better themselves, but also at the same time better the society. So that's always on my mind. And then also team dynamics and, how do we make, engaged workers, productive workers, but also like how are they doing sort of outside of work too, right? Just the sort of that work-life balance is really important that I sort of set a good example for my staff.
Yeah, work-life balance is definitely important. I think, I'm a big believer that there's more to life than just work. I don't think I think it definitely was more of like a generational thing to where it was like you just kind of slave your way at work and then you just go there for 30 plus years or 40 years and then you just retire and then you die 15 years later. But I think now it's like, okay, well, now we're at least like I feel like our generation, the younger generation is more like, well, we also want to work, but we also want to be able to live a life too.
For sure.
So I think that's a great example. The GIS community in Canada, since I'm not too familiar with it, is it thriving? Is it pretty big? Is there a lot of opportunities in Canada for a GIS technician, analyst, specialist?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is. And of course we have more of a lens in BC
Mhm.
and because the society's so unique where we're so tied into certain sectors, industries, we kind of see the musical chairs happening of like someone goes here, then moves there. And like, yeah, we were privy to all the opportunities and sort of as people migrate between local governments, First Nations, private sector, provincial entities. But yeah, I think it is thriving right now because people realize everything's location based and sort of as the technology advances, people are realizing how they can leverage GIS for so many different applications.
So then last question for you guys. Do you guys have any fun plans this weekend? It's Thursday.
I am going mountain biking tomorrow.
Do you do extreme mountain biking or is it kind of just like the slopes and the hills?
Uh, a bit of both. Yeah. Yeah. Like I love the Whistler Bike Park and I like cross country, but yeah, I ride all the time.
Okay, yeah, when I just think of mountain biking, I always just think of like those videos you see on YouTube of those guys on the Alps and you see them just crash into each other as they're going down. Uh, I don't know, that wouldn't be me. Even though actually this in July I'm supposed to be going to Colorado and we're supposed to be mountain biking down the hill to get to the city from the hotel, so that'll be a lot of fun. But knowing my luck, I would I know I'd wipe out on one single pebble, not even a rock, just a pebble,
Yeah.
which I've done before. But what about you, Shelby?
Yeah, I'll probably take my dog to like a hike or something, and then my fiance is running and playing in a baseball tournament, so I'll probably go and watch a few games because his brother is coming over from Salt Spring to play with him, and they never get to play together, so it'll be fun to like watch them and eat some hot dogs, and watch some baseball.
Nice, very cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think baseball is definitely one of those sports to where I don't actively watch it, but I will watch it if I have a hot dog and a beer. If I have a
Right?
hot
There you
dog
go.
and beer,
Yeah.
I'm good. I could
There's
literally
maybe a
just
beer
chill there.
tournament.
Oh yeah,
It's-
no, then absolutely I would go there.
Mhm.
I don't even care who's playing.
Yeah.
I'm just there
They'll
for
be
the
like, "Did
beer,
you see
honestly.
me hit?" I'll be like,
Yeah,
"No,
I'd be like, nope.
good job.
I'm like, were you playing today?
I didn't see you."
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I think that's gonna be it, guys. For our show. Call it, before we call it, did you guys have any last things you want to send us off with?
My last words is, yeah, the success of the society is based on the membership, right? Like the ICI society is not, 7 team members who are in operations, but it's the whole society and the diversity of the membership and those relationships that we built up. I feel very fortunate to be in this position and sort of have this like as, the main part of my career. I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of echo that by thanking you for having us on here as well. And then, yeah, if anyone watching has any questions, like feel free to go to our website, send us a message. Like we're happy to chat, have a meeting with anyone who wants to learn more. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank
guys,
you.
I'll have a link in the bio to their website if anyone is interested or in the BC area or is in Canada or just interested.
Happy to
All
chat.
right. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you again for joining me at the GIS Chat podcast. We had Steve, we had Shelby here from ICIS. And like I said, check the link in the bio for more information about the website. But that is it, guys. We'll see you the next episode.
Great.
Bye.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Take care.